Hey everyone, it's Miss Garza, and I just wanted to check in with you and update you about my progress this semester with the reading challenge, and I want to show you the results that I found. So let's get started. Okay, so if you go to my website and you go to the Obsessed Reader link, it'll actually take you to my blog, but below that, whenever it lets me click on it, hold on, give me a second, it should show up with, oh, it's loading. It's going to take a second. It should show up with another link where it says Action Research Blog. That's actually the blog where I posted all my research and all my findings, things like that. And it has been really awesome to finally actually put all of those resources and all those results online. So here it is. This was the beginning. This is where I started out with my actual question: why weren't students talking about books? Why weren't students reading those books? And what was I going to do about it? And so in September and October, I really started with a simple question: do you like to read? And only 32 out of my 50 students said that yes, they did like to read. 5 of them said maybe, but 13 of them said no, and that was pretty average. I had about 10 to 15 kids throughout the entire semester that were reluctant to read. They just would not like easily read. They didn't, it was an argument every time, even during silent sustained. So that was really the struggle that I was hoping to defeat this semester. And as I moved on, the things that I did were really simple. I started talking about the books that I like to read. I defined what a bibliophile was because I'm a bibliophile. I love books. I'm obsessed. I insisted that my students read 3 times a week for silent sustained, and it was a long chunk of time. It was 15 minutes. We have a block period, so that's something that we can do in our classroom, but it made such a big difference in our readers because they actually were able to start and finish a book in one semester, even if it took them the whole semester. It was an incredible accomplishment, and I've never been so proud of some of those students who struggled to do it. We had a classroom bookstore, and I would like to talk about that later on in this video. And it really has proven to be so fantastic. And I'll try and post some pictures about that on here as well. And basically, we talked about books like crazy. It's what we dedicated our lives to. And it really started to work. About halfway through, I asked the kids more questions about books, and a large percentage of them, after about a month or so, had changed their idea from maybe not liking reading to generally liking it and or loving it, which was fantastic to see that change slowly happen. Um, and even a lot of them admitted that they sometimes make time for reading outside of school. So that was pretty great. And I finally got to it where I asked if this is even working, and it was right at the end of Tweens Read, so late October, early November. I did my final poll to see where I had stood with my students, and I phrased the questions similarly enough that it was still targeting the same kind of area of questioning, while different enough that they didn't realize that it was the same question. So one of the questions that I asked was, have you come to enjoy SSR, which is silent sustained? And I have 2 classrooms that I was targeting for the entire time, and that was 50 students, and only 1 student still polled that they did not like reading, which was just an incredible drastic change because I went from 15 on average students to 1 student who still did not like SSR. And when I spoke to that student, actually, they said it's because they just have a hard time finding what they like because they're very particular. But that's really not, that's not the end of the world. There's always another book. And then for the students that did like SSR, 46 out of my 50 said that they would want more SSR time. So more than the 15 minutes that we had allotted already. They would enjoy even a reading time that was like an entire class period, which was crazy and awesome and very rewarding. And finally, I asked, have you done a book chat? So this was the one that I'm most excited about to talk about with you now because this was half my students had done a book chat. More than half of my students had done a book chat at this point. And as of Friday, it is now December 4th. It's December 4th. So as of Friday, December 2nd, all 50 students in both second and third and fourth and fifth have done a book chat with me over a book they read this semester, all 50 of them, which means I have more than achieved my goal. I cannot believe it. I'm so excited. And I know the kids are really excited because it was such a great challenge for them to encourage their friends to do a book chat. And they kind of got a little persnickety about it at the end. And they were like, you need to go. And so great to see that actually unfold in the classroom. And I've never been so proud of anything else I've ever done. So just to have those students read. So what I did want to talk about is those book chats and the bookstore and how that works. So the students are reading 15 minutes a day, every other day. And during that reading time, hopefully they'll finish a book. When they finish a book, I do a book chat with them. And more or less it goes along the lines of what's the name of the book, who's the author, and more what it's about. And I take a generalized plot line. It doesn't need to be in detail. I do like for them to tell me some major conflict points, like what's the major conflict, what's the major issue. But I do not let them tell me spoilers because what I'm hoping is that when they're doing a book chat with me and their friends are listening, that their friends will become interested in the books that they're talking about. So the friend will then read that book because they don't know the end. So it's really great for encouraging reading and encouraging reading in peers and talking about books with your peers. And then the other things I like to do is kind of tie it back to the lessons that we're learning in class, and that's just an English teacher thing. I definitely like asking them, okay, well, what's the irony, or what's a case of vocabulary that, like, what's some vocabulary that you found that was really difficult? Or if you're doing notice and note, we use notice and note in our classroom. We always like to point those out if there's a memory moment or an aha moment or things like that that show up in the novel or the book that they're reading, and those are really great. And basically, for every book that they read, it's worth a certain amount of tickets. If it's historical fiction, because that's one that students tend to neglect, it's worth 3 or 4 tickets. If it's a biography, it's 3. If it's just general fiction like YA, whatever, it's 2. If it's a classic, it's 3. Graphic novels and manga and any other short little books tend to be about 1. Um, and they're all worth tickets, which I use in substitute for money. And literally, it's just a post-it note that I sign that says 1 ticket. But at the end of the month, or the beginning, depending on where it sits at the end of the month, I open the bookstore, and this bookstore is filled with books that the students can buy, which is my number one commodity, pens, tape, other school supplies that they totally need or that I notice that they're needing. A couple other things that I like to give them are things like they love mac and cheese. So mac and cheese has been a really big thing for me to give them. Kool-Aid, fruit roll-ups. I got a couple of Chick-fil-A gift cards donated to me, so I then gave them to the bookstore. They like fuzzy socks. They like slinkies and little toys and little doodads here and there that ever I found. But it was really great to see the kids do a book chat or a couple book chats and earn their tickets. And then at the end of the month, they were so excited because what they had purchased was something that they earned for reading. And they knew that I valued it, and thus they valued it, and they valued their own work. And that was really rewarding to see come to fruition. So that's it. That was my bookstore. It's been such a great success. I know I'm going to continue it on. I only hope that it gets bigger and better, and that I continue to have as much success in the future. So that's my recap. I hope you enjoy reading about this research or about the things that I did. And as always, if you need anything, you can always find me here at elainspire.weebly.com, and have a wonderful day.